Welcome back to Chat Like a Native. You're here, you're serious about English, and you probably know this feeling. You put in the hours on grammar, your vocab's pretty good, you can even break down vowel sounds. But still, when you actually talk to someone, it feels like, well, you're communicating, sure, but maybe not really flowing. Does that sound familiar?
Oh, absolutely. That gap between being, correct and sounding genuinely natural, it's the big one. And today, we're digging into this. We've looked at a whole stack of research practical guides,
Right.
and they all seem to point towards one technique that honestly seems to be the most powerful way to bridge that gap.
Okay, so we're moving beyond just the single sounds, the consonants, the vowels,
Exactly.
and we're looking at the bigger picture, the sort of music of English. We're talking rhythm and intonation today.
That's it, the beat and the melody.
And the main technique, the kind of shortcut to getting that music right, is something called shadowing.
Shadowing, yeah. It sounds simple, almost too simple maybe, but the way you do it is incredibly powerful. It's like, it's the closest thing to actually rewiring your brain to hear and produce English as that continuous stream, not just word after word after word.
Okay, so that's our mission for this deep dive then. We need to unpack what real-time shadowing actually is, why this music matters so much more than people think, and crucially, give you a step-by-step plan based on what works.
A practical blueprint.
Yeah, exactly. So stick around, because if you've been hunting for that key to unlocking really natural-sounding English, this might just be it. All right, let's start with that music itself. We know the individual notes, consonants, vowels, but why are rhythm and intonation often more important? Why do they trump the notes sometimes?
Well, think about it. Without rhythm and intonation, your speech might be perfectly clear word by word, but it can sound a bit robotic or just foreign in a way that's hard to put your finger on. English is what linguists call a stress-timed language. So rhythm is basically about which words get the emphasis, the stress, usually the important content words like nouns and verbs.
And the other words?
The smaller function words like a, the to, they often get squished, reduced, sometimes almost disappear. That's the natural flow.
It's like the beat in music, right?
Yeah.
If you hit every note with exactly the same force, it sounds really unnatural. You need that pulse.
Precisely. And intonation, that's the melody, the way your voice goes up and down over a sentence. And that's where so much meaning and emotion hides.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Think about present. If I say present, stress on the first syllable.
It's a gift.
Right. But if I say present, stress on the second.
It means to offer something, like a presentation.
Exactly. Same spelling, different music, totally different meaning. That's
Yeah.
rhythm-changing meaning right there.
Okay, that makes sense for clarity. Now, you mentioned our sources point to 3 big impacts of getting this music right. What's the first one?
Well, clarity and naturalness, like we just touched on, native speakers tend to be efficient. Maybe lazy is the wrong word, but we use economy of effort. We blend sounds, we shorten words, we connect things. If you pronounce every single T and perfectly, like I want to go to the store, it doesn't sound more correct, it just sounds stiff. Shadowing helps you learn those natural reductions.
Okay, makes sense. And the second area, something about listening.
Yeah, this is huge and often missed. Listening comprehension. If you only practice speaking very clearly, word by word, you're totally unprepared when a native speaker says something like, "Whatcha ganado?" instead of, "What are you going to do?"
Right. Or, did you eat yet? For did you eat yet?
Exactly. Your brain hasn't heard that pattern enough. It doesn't recognize it quickly. Shadowing trains your ear to expect those merged sounds, those reductions. It builds up your internal library of how English actually sounds.
So you're kind of predicting what's coming.
Yeah.
And the third point was meaning and emotion.
This is all about intonation. It can completely change the meaning, sometimes more than the words themselves. If I say, "You're leaving now," with my voice going up at the end.
It sounds like a question, or maybe surprise.
Right. But if I say, "You're leaving now," with the voice going down.
That's a statement.
Fact. Precisely. If a learner uses a very flat intonation all the time, they sound, well, maybe bored or disengaged, or it's just harder to understand their intention. They strip out all the emotional color.
Okay, I can see why this is tough. You're juggling timing, stress, those reductions, pitch, all at the same time. No wonder just repeating sentences doesn't quite cut it.
And that complex coordination is exactly why simple repetition often falls short. You need something that forces your brain and mouth to do it all together quickly in real time, which brings us right back to shadowing.
Okay, let's really define this properly.
Yeah.
Because like you said, a lot of people think shadowing is just listen, pause, repeat.
Yeah, and that's the biggest misconception. That's repetition, maybe mimicry. It's useful for memorizing, but it's not shadowing.
So what is it?
Shadowing is about listening and speaking almost simultaneously. The key is a very, very short delay, maybe just a syllable or two behind the speaker. You're literally trying to be their echo.
Whoa, hang on. Speak while I'm listening? That sounds incredibly difficult, like you'd just be talking over them.
That feeling,
Yeah.
that feeling of almost talking over them, that means you're probably doing it right. It's supposed to feel a bit intense
Okay, why?
because it forces you out of that internal translation mode. You don't have time to think about grammar rules or pick the perfect word. You are purely focused on replicating the sound patterns, the rhythm, the pitch, the flow.
All right, so to do that effectively, what specifically are we trying to copy? You mentioned 4 things earlier.
Yes, 4 key elements you must try to replicate. First, stress. Both word stress, like desert versus dessert, and sentence stress, the words that get emphasized in a phrase.
Okay, stress. Got it. Number 2.
Speed, or maybe cadence is a better word. Match the pace of the speaker. If they speak quickly, you try to speak quickly. If they pause, you pause.
Right. 3rd.
Pitch changes. The melody. If their voice goes up at the end of a question, yours should too. If they sound excited or serious or hesitant, try to capture that musicality.
Okay, stress, speed, pitch. And the last one, which seems like the real native-like secret sauce.
Connected speech. Absolutely vital. This is all about how sounds link together and change between words, like how and often becomes just like rock and roll.
Or fish and chips.
Exactly. Or how want to becomes wanna, going to becomes gonna. If you're shadowing someone saying, I want to go, but you say, I want to go, pronouncing each word clearly,
You're missing the point. You're not mashing the flow.
you're completely missing the natural rhythm. Shadowing forces your mouth to actually make those connections and reductions almost automatically. It's muscle memory training for your mouth.
So the idea is to stop thinking of sentences as separate bricks and more like a single connected sound wave.
That's a great way to put it. And look, to make this manageable, especially at the start, our sources suggest trying different approaches. You can begin using a transcript.
How does that help?
It gives you a visual anchor while you're trying to echo the sound, makes it a bit less overwhelming. Then, the next step is crucial. You move to shadowing with pure audio, no text. That really deepens the listening-speaking connection.
And you can adjust the speed too, right?
Definitely. Starting with audio slowed down to maybe 75% or 80% can be really helpful. It lets you focus on getting the rhythm and pitch right without feeling rushed. Then, gradually work your way up to full speed.
Okay, this sounds intense but effective. Let's get practical. We need a plan, a structure for making this work consistently. Step 1.
Step 1 is choosing your material wisely. This is key. Pick audio that's clear, spoken naturally, and really importantly, something you find interesting.
Why interesting?
Because if you're shadowing some boring textbook dialogue, you'll quit. Find a short TED Talk clip, a bit from a podcast you like, maybe even this one, a monologue from a movie, something engaging.
And difficulty level.
Crucial point. If you're intermediate, pick something where you already understand maybe 80% or 90% of the words. You don't want to be stopping constantly to look things up. The focus is on the sound, not decoding complex vocabulary.
Okay, so I found my, say, 2-minute clip. Got the transcript maybe? Do I just hit play and start trying to echo?
Not quite yet. Step 2. Listen first. Just listen. Don't try to speak. Put your focus only on the rhythm. Where are the pauses? Which words are stressed? Where does the pitch go up or down? Get a feel for the music before you try to play it.
That makes sense. Map it out first. Okay, done that. Now, step 3, we actually start shadowing.
Yes, start with the transcript visible if you have one, play the audio, and begin repeating just behind the speaker, maybe half a second or a second delay. Focus entirely on matching that music, the stress, the melody, the flow.
And it's okay if I miss some words.
Totally, okay, especially at first. Don't stop. The goal is to keep the rhythm going, even if you stumble over a word or two. Stay with the speaker's pace.
All right, and then once that feels a bit more comfortable, step 4 is taking off the training wheels.
Exactly. Hide the transcript. This is where the real magic starts to happen. Now you have to rely purely on your ear. You're forcing your brain to process the incoming sound and produce the outgoing sound almost simultaneously.
That sounds like the real deep practice.
It is. Repeat that same short segment multiple times without the text until you feel like you're really riding the speaker's coattails, matching their flow pretty closely.
Okay, now for the part everyone loves to hate. Step 5, recording yourself.
The gut check moment. Yes, it can feel awkward, but it's non-negotiable if you want real improvement. You need objective feedback.
Why can't I just trust my own ears?
Because our perception is biased. You think you sound like the speaker, but when you record yourself and play it back right after the original audio, oh boy, you suddenly hear the gaps.
Like what kind of gaps?
Maybe your intonation is flat where the speaker's was lively. Maybe you're not linking words they linked. Maybe you're dropping the ends of words or stressing completely the wrong syllable. The recording doesn't lie.
Brutal, but necessary, I guess. Okay, that comparison really highlights what needs work, which leads straight into step 6, consistency. All the sources hammer this home. Short, frequent practice beats long, rare sessions.
Absolutely. 10 to 15 minutes every day. Seriously, this isn't about intellectual understanding anymore. It's about building physical habits, muscle memory in your mouth, and tuning your auditory processing. That takes regular reinforcement, like practicing scales on a piano.
Daily practice, got it. And finally, step 7, closing the feedback loop.
Right. Use what you learn from that recording, or even better, get feedback from a teacher, a language partner, someone whose ear you trust. Identify 1 or 2 specific things to work on in your next session.
And keep pushing yourself.
Yeah. Once you feel pretty good shadowing a short clip, don't just stay there. Make it harder. Pick a faster speaker, a longer segment, maybe a different accent. Keep that cycle of practice, feedback, adjust, practice going.
Okay, so it's a powerful technique, but like anything challenging, people are bound to make mistakes, right? What are the common pitfalls we see people falling into?
Oh, definitely. The number one mistake, we've kind of touched on it, is waiting too long to repeat. If there's a big pause between the speaker and you, you're just doing delayed repetition. That's passive listening. Shadowing needs to be active, right on their heels.
So staying really close, almost overlapping.
Almost overlapping, yes. You have to learn to anticipate the flow a little bit, which comes from that initial listening phase.
What else trips people up?
Another huge one is ignoring connected speech. Learners often default back to pronouncing every single word carefully and distinctly, like they learned from a textbook.
Because it feels clearer.
Right, but it's not how native speakers actually talk. If the speaker says gonna and you shadow it as going to, you're practicing the wrong pattern. You have to commit to mimicking the slurring, the linking, the reductions. That's the whole point.
And the material choice again.
Yes, choosing something way too difficult. Trying to shadow a super fast talker or a dense academic lecture when you're not ready just leads to frustration. You stop, you get lost, you feel overwhelmed, and then you just give up. Start easy. Build confidence.
Makes sense. Anything else?
One more. Mindless repetition. Just parroting the sounds without actually understanding the meaning of what you're saying. That's dangerous because you could accidentally learn a wrong stress pattern that changes the meaning and you wouldn't even realize it. You need to be engaged with the content.
That's a really important point about meaning. And it ties into the overall goal, doesn't it? We should probably remind listeners, the aim isn't to sound like a perfect clone of one specific native speaker or to completely erase your accent.
Not at all. That's usually unrealistic and unnecessary. The goal is clarity, naturalness, and confidence. It's about being easily understood and feeling comfortable in the rhythm of English. Your accent is part of who you are. We're aiming for comfortable, intelligible communication.
So celebrate the small wins, like nailing a tricky linked phrase.
Absolutely. Notice when you smoothly say should instead of should have, or when you get the rising intonation right on a question. Those are signs of real progress in sounding more natural.
Okay, so once someone's got the basics down, they're feeling more confident with shadowing simple stuff. How do they take it to the next level, make it more advanced?
Great question. 3 cool ways to level up. First, accent variation. If you've only ever shadowed, say, standard American English, try shadowing a British speaker or Australian or Irish.
Why do that?
It stretches your ear and your mouth muscles. Different accents have different tunes, different rhythms, different vowel sounds. It makes you more flexible and adaptable, both for listening and speaking. Plus, it's good for understanding people from all over.
Good point. Okay, what's number 2?
Try double shadowing. Find a dialogue, a conversation between 2 people. Try to shadow one of the speakers while the other one is also talking.
Wow, that sounds incredibly hard.
It is hard, but it's amazing training for real-life conversation where you have turn-taking, interruptions, listening while planning what to say next. It really pushes your simultaneous processing skills.
Okay, accent variation, double shadowing, and the third advanced tip.
Matching emotion and expression. This goes beyond just pitch patterns. It's about capturing the feeling. Find audio with real emotional range, maybe An actor performing a monologue, a passionate speech, even someone telling a funny story. Try to mimic not just the words and melody, but the speaker's energy, their pauses for effect, their excitement or sadness. That's really advanced intonation control.
Yeah, we've covered a lot in this deep dive, the why, the what, the how. Let's wrap up by focusing on making this stick. Consistency seems to be everything with shadowing.
It really is. You've got to make it a non-negotiable habit. Like we said, 10, 15 minutes daily. Maybe link it to something you already do, first thing with coffee, during your commute if you can do it privately. Put it in your calendar.
And keep it enjoyable. Right.
Crucial. Use material you genuinely like. If you love cooking shows, shadow a chef. If you're into tech, shadow tech reviews. The enjoyment factor is what keeps you coming back day after day. Maybe keep a little log or journal track what you shadowed, what you noticed. That helps too.
And that 30-day plan idea we touched on, starting simple, gradually increasing difficulty, it provides a good roadmap.
Exactly. Days 1 to 5 might be super short clips with the transcript, just focusing on stress. By days 26, 30, maybe you're tackling longer chunks, no transcript, really trying to match the speaker's style and emotion. Even if it's not perfect by day 30, trust me, you will feel and hear a difference in your flow and confidence.
It's worth remembering that initial feeling, too, isn't that weirdness of talking almost over someone?
Yes. Don't let that put you off. That slightly uncomfortable feeling is actually a sign that your brain is doing something new and challenging. It's realizing, whoa, I have to listen and speak at the same time. Embrace it. It means you're actively training your ears, your brain, and your mouth in a way that passive listening just can't replicate.
Okay, so that brings us to our final thought.
Yeah.
Something for you, the listener, to really mull over.
Yeah. Think about this. You're not using shadowing to erase yourself and become a copy of someone else. You're using it as a tool to find your own more natural, more expressive, more confident voice in English. It helps you unlock the fluency that's already potentially there.
So the challenge, then.
Simple. Immediate. Don't put it off. Right after you finish listening to us, find just a 30-second audio clip, something clear, maybe a quote you like, a short news headline, and just try shadowing it for 5 minutes. Right now.
Just 5 minutes.
Just 5 minutes. Notice that feeling of your mouth and brain trying to sync up, that synchronization, that feeling. That is the fast track to chatting like a native.